Hello everybody, and I hope you are all well. This is going to be a brief video about remote assessment. The COVID pandemic has left a significant impact on society, including the education system. For example, all centres delivering AIM qualifications have had to adapt to some kind of distance or blended learning model. Prior to COVID-19, centres were asked to perform exams under strict controlled conditions. For example, an invigilator would monitor the learners to make sure there was no collaboration or cheating. All learners would be spaced apart to prevent copying. A clock would be in the room to inform learners how much time they had and so forth. During COVID-19, it was not possible to conduct exams in this way. This was the start of remote assessment. But what is a remote assessment? Remote assessment is whereby a centre can facilitate an exam with a learner remotely. The learner would do this from home with an invigilator observing them. For an AIM centre wishing to undertake remote assessment, we ask they watch this video, they go to our website and go to the Invigilation Guidance, they speak to their nominated centre lead, and finally the centre produce their own policy and how they would manage the remote assessment. Invigilation Guidance for remote external assessments. So once you've been given the go-ahead, more than likely from your centre lead, you will have rules to abide by doing the remote assessments. These will be: all assessments using this approach must be invigilated on a one-to-one basis. Assessments must not be invigilated by the class tutor unless another independent invigilator is present. The invigilator must supervise the candidates throughout the test and give complete attention to his duty at all times. Starting the exam. When starting the exam, the invigilator is responsible for ensuring the following requirements are explained to and understood fully by the learner before the remote assessment begins. If the learner requires a reasonable adjustment to be made, this must be pre-approved by AIM before the exam. The learner must have consented to the assessment being recorded, stored and reviewed. The identity of the learner must be identified before the assessment. The learner must be in view at all times, sharing both the computer screen and video webcam. The learner has switched on their microphone and the audio is clear. The learner has completed a scan of the room. There needs to be steady and reliable internet connection. The lighting in the room is bright enough to be considered daylight quality. The learner's working area is clear and tidy. The desk and walls around the learner do not have any written materials or posters which may relate to the subject matter. The room must be as quiet as possible. Sounds like music or television are not permitted. It is important these checks are completed prior to the exam taking place. Additional guidance for AIM external assessments. Learners must be assessed in English. Assessing and using translators is not permitted. The following items are not within the learner's working area or used during the assessments: books, paper, pens, calculators, textbooks, notebooks, and phones. Unless it's an open book assessment, then there might be some that may be allowed in that list. During the assessment, the invigilator must ensure that no other person has entered the room and the learner has not spoken to anybody else. The learner has not moved out of the sight of the webcams. The learner's screen sharing has not frozen or stopped. The learner is not using headphones. The learner has not accessed any form of electronic device, including phones, smartwatches, etc. The learner has not accessed any additional websites or programs. After the assessment, as a centre, you must ensure that all of the stated requirements have been met. Any voided assessments are notified to AIM by email immediately, no more than 48 hours after the exam. The recordings of the learner's assessment should be stored securely for at least 3 months from the date of the assessment before any can be deleted. Okay, and that really sums up remote assessment. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to get in contact with us. It's inquiries@aim-group.org.uk.